You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts.
Right, Chris.
Alrighty, hang on a second. Here I am. Hello. I'm still getting used to it. I'm still on Australian time. I wish I was. It's nice and sunny over there. Not this pretty shit crap weather we've got back here. But late, at least I'm back, and what happens? Leicester win. Welcome along. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good day, goodbye, hello, wherever you are in the world. One of those will apply to you. This is LTIDT from Leicester Till I Die. Thank you for joining us live on YouTube, if that is how you are watching. Do feel free to join in with the chat. As we always say, just keep it respectful. If you are listening via podcast, thank you very much for lending us your ears. And if you are watching it on YouTube on catch up, add your comments below. If they're not very nice, we ignore them. If they're all right, we'll try and get back to you and have a bit of a chat with you. So this is game. Wait, we are looking back at game week 8. What a weekend! What a weekend! Some Bournemouth fans are happy because, of course, they won. Those that still like Gary O'Neill are probably laughing their socks off because he can't get a point for love nor money. Well, he's got one. That's about as good as it gets. As it does indeed for Southampton. I mean, when you look at sort of, we give them a 2-goal lead and we still beat them. Well, and let's be honest with you, Arsenal fans, beating Bournemouth's not for everybody, is it? What can I say? Right, here we go. I'm going to have 2 guests. I'm going to bring them in. We have, first of all, from up the clouts in all departments. Still no idea what that means. The man who says, why use 2 words when you can use 22? Obsessed with porn. And that, of course, is Craig. And Leicester Till I Die's answer to ZZ Top. If you've seen the beard, you know what I mean. It's YY Fronts. Let's bring Tom in as well. Porn Man and YY Fronts, good evening.
Evening, Chris. You said bloody Clarets again.
Did I?
Not a Burnley fan.
Well, you might as well be,
get
mate.
It bloody right. Come on, get it right.
To be fair, they're not 1 year and down the next, so we're just jumping a bit of time here. Next year we'll be in this position, I'm sure.
Exactly. Look, if you had a decent name, that I could remember, but UTICAB LBGTT plus minus divide by and multiply and drop your pants, then you'd be able to remember what bloody team
It's
you
a
are.
well-known thing with Bournemouth. Up the cherries in all departments is a well-known thing. They used to say up the cherries, and then everybody would reply in all departments. Come on, Chris, you've lived down here long enough.
I've lived down here long enough, and I have avoided Bournemouth like the plague. And when you look at the average Bournemouth fan is you, most people can probably understand why. It's hard to get the word in edgeways.
So it starts, Chris,
to understand what it means.
I think we're all in the southwest tonight. We're all in the southwest tonight. Because obviously I'm in Devon, so I'm only literally up the road from you boys. So I'm as weird as you two, literally.
Now, can I just say, Tom, and just be careful here because your LTID TV future relies on your answer to this next question. Scone or scones?
Tumbleweed.
He's thinking.
I didn't hear what the question was, ironically, because my internet signal went a little bit dodgy. So I was like, my future's not looking very good there.
Yeah.
I just blame it on Chris. Just blame it on Chris, Tom. I blame everything
Bloody
on
Craig!
Chris.
Will you stop? Turn that porn off at your end, Craig.
I blame everything
Oh, sorry.
on Chris.
Sorry, it's not porn. Tell your wife to leave the room.
What was the question again?
You're from Devon. Is it scones or scones? And your future depends on this answer, sir.
Oh my word! I would call it a scone, but I'm wrong. But then I don't have a Devon accent. I was
No good. I'm sorry. You go in.
Do you know what I call them? I just call them pastry things with cream in it.
They're not pastry. Don't be ridiculous.
The question
But
is
no,
the cream. Where do you put the cream?
they're scones. Right. What do you call those little grey pebbles that rhyme with scones?
Stones.
Stones. You don't call them stones, do you?
I
What are
agree
those-
with no,
What are
Chris.
those calcium
I'm
things
going
that are inside your body? Shut up a minute. I'm
I
talking.
agree with Tom just for the sake of it. So Tom, well done. You're
Thank you. Don't forget, I used to live in North America for a bit as well, so I'm used to them being savoury and called biscuits, which is even worse. So
Look, I've been in Australia for a month, and there they call flip flops thongs.
yeah,
You know,
bizarre, isn't it?
That's going
but,
to happen quite a lot tonight, isn't it?
it is going to happen
Rhetoric,
a hell of a lot
correctly.
tonight. And those calcium things that are inside your body are called bones, not bonds. So I can just go. All right, I'll give you a second chance to redeem yourself. Cream on first or jam on first?
Cream on first.
All right, you've redeemed yourself. You've redeemed.
100%.
You had a 50-50 chance and you got that one right.
I'm going to go assertive here, just hope for the best.
I know. Let's just catch up before we get in and look at the weekend's results. And there were some strange ones there. Craig, I'm watching you from Lanzarote. I might be going there next year. Lanzarote or Canada? Daddy chips.
You're not in
John-
Lanzarote.
Well, I used to live
Sorry?
in Canada, so I'd say Canada.
Canada.
I can tell you're not in Lanzarote, Chris.
Yes, I said I'm thinking of going there next year.
Oh, are you? You fuck
Yeah,
off now,
or
then.
Canada. I can't decide which.
You go now. I'll take you to the airport.
I would say I'd avoid Tenerife over Lanzarote because you see today what was going on in the news. Yeah, there might be people on the beach wanting you gone, mate. But
Well, yes, yeah. And if you are going to go to North America, Canada is the nice bit. John, hi, Chris. How was Australia? Was fucking brilliant, mate. I didn't want to come back, and I come back, and I get this pair. You know what I mean?
You love my face. You love it. You absolutely love it, Chris.
Oh, sorry, mate. I thought you were bent over. Sorry, no, that was your face. John, another game of two halves. What it just. Yvonne, how you doing? That was what we needed. Yes, it was. And John, yeah, no name dropping. If he knows if he drops a name, he's gone out and he won't be coming back in.
So Harry Redknapp was on my show. He's been on several times.
He said we can just do that and we'll leave him out now. So we're going to go through the games and in a match of the day time style. Has he shut up yet? Yes. We're going to go through in a match of the
What
day.
about Richard Archer from Hard Fight? He's a Brentford fan.
So we're going to go through. I'm just going to unmute him when it's his turn to talk. This is the easiest thing.
I'm going to be quiet and let you guys just do it. You crack on, boys. You've got this. You know, Redknapp's coming in a minute, apparently.
You've come in to keep me company, Tom. What it is.
Come in to probably be the fence today between you two, I think.
I think you will. Right. Anyway, here we go. And I'm going to do that because he's going to write something up and put it up on the screen in a minute. So I'm going to stop him doing that. Let's kick off. The first game we're going to look at here. And Nate is in from America. Hello, Nate. How are you? Welcome along, buddy. Man United actually beating Brentford. I didn't have this down. I think I had a win for Brentford, probably, knowing my luck.
I think we all went Brentford, didn't we, Chris? We all actually surprised you went Brentford.
Yeah, I went 2-1 Brentford.
I went 2-1 Brentford.
Yeah. Obviously, surprised that didn't happen. And has this saved Ten Hag's job? For the time being, at least.
I think it has for the time being, at least. It's a note I wrote on this actually before I started even the game, and that was I think Ten Hag's problem is actually the owners are constantly talking to the press over his head, so they've kind of taken away from him, the ability to really lead the team almost. Because you hear Sir Jim Ratcliffe every week will come out and say something, oh, we're going to keep him on. That whole saga over the summer about is he going to stay or not. But for the moment, as long as he gets 3 points, and I mean, Brentford are a good team now as well, really.
Yeah.
He'll be in a
Yeah.
job for the moment.
Craig, I mean, looking at this match,
Yeah.
he's well, Alex Ferguson wasn't there this weekend. He went up to Celtic. Maybe that's why they won. I mean, having Alex Ferguson looking over your shoulder, coming into the dressing room after the games, etc. You don't want that when you're in charge and the old boss is still hanging about, do you?
Do you know what? I can understand both aspects of this because Alex Ferguson is a legend for what he did at Manchester United. Love him or hate him, to be honest, I particularly wasn't too fond of him.
Mm.
But what he did for that football club was quite incredible. And I think it's gone down like a lead balloon with the Manchester United fans, to be fair. But at the same time, whoever is in charge now, nobody lasts forever and nobody can stay in a job forever. It's a case that the new man, Ten Hag, has to take it on his own now. And I am kind of in agreement with yourself. If you ask me one way, I think that they should really try and move on from it. But yeah, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is probably less popular than Jimmy Savile up there at the moment, to be fair, with the Man United fans. So yeah, it's I don't
Yeah.
think he could really win. I think it's a sensible decision he's actually done and made, because am I right in thinking that Sir Alex Ferguson was being paid 2.5 million each year for 10 whole years to actually run this ambassador role? And what is an ambassador role? I've spoken to the likes of Andy Booth in the past and Steve Bull and people like that, and of course Steve Fletcher is an ambassador at Bournemouth. And it is really that link between the fans and the football club, promoting that. Now, the thing is when you're as big as Sir Alex Ferguson, I'm not knocking anybody else like Steve Bull or Fletch or, you probably got one at Leicester as well.
Alan Birchinall.
Exactly. But those sort of people are okay to actually do that role because they're not going to be completely and utterly harassed. The thing is that Manchester United ambassador role, you put Alex Ferguson in there, he's not going to be able to do as much as what Fletch or
No, and
Birchall or
I
anybody else can do. Do
take
you
on
see
what
where
you're
I'm coming
saying,
from?
Craig. I take on what
Yeah.
you're saying, but Tom, an ambassador role, that's great. Go out and look, spread the word about Man United. Go and do goodwill tours and take I mean, I think it was, I don't know who it was, but there was quite a few ex-Leicester players in America a couple of weeks ago. That's fine, but what you don't want, when you've got somebody, and let's face it, love him or hate him, as Craig said, what he did was amazing as a manager. But he should not be in that dressing room. Nobody should be in that dressing room apart from the players and the manager, and probably the assistant manager. But at the end of the day, that's doing these things and cancelling that and cancelling this freebie and that freebie. It's not the problem at Man United, is it?
No, I was going to say that the thing about it is if they were all singing from the same hymn sheet, it wouldn't necessarily be a problem. But when you have a manager that's under pressure, you have a chairman that's speaking a lot in the press and annoying people. And then you've got Alex Ferguson, who was basically the white knight of what the club needs to go and find now in a new manager to build a new elite Manchester United. And in some ways, one of them's got to go, and the manager hasn't gone. So I can understand why it's happened. And for Sir Jim Radcliffe's sake, he's got to make it work, as of the rest of the owners there, because it's obviously a big sacrifice to sacrifice your main idol, your Buddha of your club, in order to try and go forward with the same voice.
Indeed. Craig, I mean, when you look at Man United, And yeah, all right, Jim Radcliffe, he's got to go in. He's got to give it a clean sweep. And we do know that the what they call the Glaziers, not is it Glaziers, isn't it? Have run
Yeah.
the club into the ground, etc. But and I've forgotten what I was going to say. No, it'll come back to me now. but um, Man United have just got to accept that you cannot be as good as you were for all that time. Look at Liverpool. Liverpool, before
Mm,
Man United came along, were the dog's bollocks. Man United weren't even good enough to lick Liverpool's bollocks.
yeah.
All that Man United did was win an occasional cup every now and again, or the manager was knocking off the kit man's wife. That was all Man United were good for. Now, Liverpool were going, they were changing managers. They had the famous boot room. They were the
Mm.
kings of Europe. Then it all went wrong. Then Ferguson came in at Man United, took it over. They ain't going to get that back and be that good, well, ever probably. It took Liverpool 19 seasons, was it, or even over 20 to get one Premier League. Have they just got to accept that now they are just one of the also-rans?
Do you know what? I think they're going to struggle to even get near the Champions League places in the future. And the main reason being is because the club has been run a little bit into the ground by the Glazers. The club, look at Old Trafford. It is a huge stadium, but
Mm.
it's leaking, it's shitty. It's just, it's not what you expect of Man United back in the 90s. Yet teams come and go. It'll happen to Manchester City at one point. It's
Yeah,
already
well, that's
happening
the
to
thing.
Chelsea.
Yeah, yeah. Every
These
club
teams,
has its period, and
yeah,
Man United had theirs under Fer, and it was a glorious period. And I know a lot of their fans that are supporting it now didn't even
mm,
weren't even born before Alex Ferguson came into the club. So they've just got to accept that it's not their turn now; it's Man City's turn. And like you say, Craig,
mm.
that will eventually go off.
I
But
know
going
this
back
is a
to the
bad
game,
example, though. I know this is a bad example, and I just want to say something on this. Look at Arsenal. I know that it's probably not the best example, seeing as we've just beaten them, but Arsenal, you know, after Wenger won the Invincibles, they had a massive fall off.
mm,
That Invincibles team, struggled to actually match that, and they just started to fall completely off to the point where Arsenal fans were calling for Wenger's head because they didn't want to see his legacy be ruined. It's taken them a long time to actually get back to that point. But I tell you what they have done, and this might be something that Manchester United need to consider, is they need to persevere with a manager. And the reason being, Arsenal, Mikel Arteta, you couldn't say when he went in at Arsenal as
no.
manager that he was the best man for that job. They've persevered with him and he's managed to turn it round. And he's a very, very good manager. He's
Yes, he
very,
is.
very good
Like
coach.
you say, you have to give
Yeah,
no manager. When you look at the managers that they've had in there, they've had I say Dick Van Dyke, but what was he called? The Dutch manager, Van Gaal.
yeah.
David Moyes wasn't a bad manager.
No,
He just took over an absolutely awful team.
I
But
think
looking
I
at
think
sorry,
that
Craig. Sorry,
Ferguson,
I'm moving on.
yeah.
Sorry, looking at this game though, Tom.
Mm,
Man United, although the possession was pretty split,
Mm.
49.6 Brentford, 50.4 to United. United had 23 shots to
Yeah.
Brentford's 8. 11 of those are on target. Touches in the box, they had 35, more than double Brentford's 14. If
Yeah.
they hadn't won this game, you would then be starting to ask questions, wouldn't you?
It's a funny one, that game, I thought, because like you're looking at the stats, Manchester United generally recently have performed better playing a counter-attacking system where they haven't had as much of the ball.
Mm.
And obviously at home, you don't really want to be that team, especially against a Brentford, right? So seeing them actually step up and do more than that was very intriguing. I thought Hoyland actually had a very good game. I thought his ability at holding the ball up was actually really making a difference for them from what I saw. He was coming back. He was
Is it me
off
or is he
defenders to allow space for
freezing?
midfielders to keep pushing the ball up the pitch and to create these chances. So I think overall, apart from that, I would say they've still got some work to do.
Mm.
Was that
I mean,
me? Or was that you guys?
I do feel like
Probably
with
me.
Manchester United, every game. I mean, they're up to 11th at the moment, but every game they win is almost like a stay of execution for the manager. You know, Brentford in 13th, Craig.
Yeah.
They just can't seem to get any rhythm. You know, this is their season. One lost, drawn, one lost. There's no consistency there, is there?
To be honest, though, if you ask any Brentford fan, of where they thought that they were going to finish at the end of the season, or where they'd be happy to be after this game week, I think personally they would bite your hand off to be where they are, considering Ivan Toney has left the club. I think that they look a very, very good side. I still think they look a very good side, which surprised me because I thought that they would be in a right pickle this year, a right relegation battle. And there was also talk of, other players leaving that football club. Thomas Frank has shown what a good manager he is. I know that some Bournemouth fans say that they hate him and, all the tapping of the watch and things like that. And yes, he is a bit annoying. He does look a bit like Ed Tudor Pole from the Crystal Maze all those years ago. But honestly, I think he's a very, very good manager. And they took a deserved lead. Believe it or not, I think it was, 4 weeks running, wasn't it? Before the international break, they scored in the first 3 minutes. So, yeah.
Webber most
Yeah.
of the time as well. He's been superb this year, hasn't he? He's
Oh,
really
he
stepped up
has.
another
He's
level.
outstanding.
Like unbelievable step up this year.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to our next game, which is Newcastle and Brighton, Tom. Here is a team that had the most possession, just about 60% to Newcastle, 60 to Brighton, had 21 shots, which 6 were on target, and yet couldn't win this game. I mean, Newcastle scored Danny Welbeck. He just keeps going on, and he's like the Duracell bunny, isn't he? He's going on and on and on. 35 minutes in, he scores. Eddie Howe might just be looking over his shoulder if he's not careful.
Yeah, it was an odd game, really, because Newcastle, looking at the stats and how the game unfolded, had a lot more of it. But Verbruggen had a great game in net for Brighton. And Brighton, Welbeck, I mean, do we even consider, is he a fourth choice England striker or something? So, because he always seems to turn up and he's always making himself relevant down at Brighton. And the way he ran into the box and just managed to nick it in, it was a real snatch and grab sort of job from them. But of course, Brighton are so well organised. If you're not on form on that day, and Newcastle can do with a bit more quality, really. They wanted to get more quality. They haven't really got the money yet to be able to do it. I think this will be a game they normally win. But this is what's keeping Aston Villa ahead of Newcastle at the moment, because Villa wouldn't lose this game. As we saw against Fulham, they would win this game every week.
Yeah. I mean, Craig, Brighton up to 5th. Only lost 1 so far this season, drawn 3. They are, to me, and a lot of people have said this, they are the new Leicester. But I like them, and I like to see a team like that doing well. But yeah, I do. We've got another international break coming up in November. Woo woo! We're all happy about that, aren't we? I think there's a lot of managers that are going to be looking over the shoulder. Amanda Staley's gone at Newcastle. They could be looking at this and thinking, all right, we're in 8th, which isn't the worst in the world, but these are games that Newcastle, if they're going to win something, should be getting the points at.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I think Brighton are a very, very good side. We was all asking, who the hell is Fabian Hurtzler at the start of the season?
Yeah.
Of course, he just led St. Pauli to promotion. And I think we've got our answer. They have got such a good... They've got a conveyor belt, haven't they? They knew who was going to take over there before De Zerbi actually even left. They are a very intelligent football club. They buy sensibly. To be honest, I think they look a very, very good side. Very, very. I think they ran out of legs because we beat them 3-0 at the end of last season. And I think they ran out of legs towards the end of the season because of the amount of football that they've been playing. So I think they haven't got really that strength in depth. But their first team squad is excellent.
They were
And
in Europe, weren't they, last season?
they were, yeah. They went and I think they beat AEK Athens, didn't they? I think they beat Ajax as well. So they're no Brighton. Do not surprise me for winning this game. Who did I think was going to win it? I thought Newcastle were going to win it, especially at St James's. I think personally are, you know, they're a quality side as well. All this talk of Eddie leaving the football club, the problem is he's got his hands tied, which, you look at Man City, that team that's just popped up there, and what they did. Newcastle haven't been given the opportunity to do that with their millions, and I think that Eddie has to try and slowly break into that top four. He's not going to get it all his own way, but I think he's done a good job. He's going to lose games like this. But again, it's that case of persevering and be careful what you wish for.
Oh,
And
definitely.
I think Brighton, fully deserved their win at the weekend. I think Newcastle were banging on the door, but I think Brighton held firm, and they're a very, very good side.
They were, Tom. 45 touches in the Brighton box for Newcastle, 12 the opposite way round. Will the Newcastle fans be patient with Eddie Howe, though? I mean, I used to love the Geordie fans, still do, the majority of them, but you could tell there was that they did become slightly more entitled once they got all that money behind them. Not quite as bad as the Arsenal fans, but I'm just wondering, like I say, the majority of them are still lovely, but I'm just wondering, will the fans give him time?
I think the problem Newcastle face, and ironically Brighton is a very good comparison of this, is Newcastle is still in a position where they're going to have to sell a couple of players for profit and then reinvest really well in order to gain more finance behind the club as well. Obviously, they've got a big stadium, a big fan base, so there's a lot coming in there, and they probably could do more commercially as well in order to increase this. But obviously, the Premier League watch you like a hawk, especially look at Man City's charges. But but I think there is more things that they can do, more off the pitch, really. I think the team now is actually in a very solid position, and like we were saying, you can switch it. Maybe you can go out there and try and persuade someone to come in for big money. But if it's someone like maybe Lopetegui at West Ham, who's meant to have experience, and it doesn't quite translate into that club, then you've gone a step back for no reason. So I think really where they are, it's solid now. I think they need to really consider, look, can we reinvest and what can we do with these academy players as well? Because I was going to say about Brighton's academy, their under-23 squad, their reserve squad, their PL2 squad, they've got some players in there. Watch out, they're coming. And they seem to be very good at transitioning them from the under-23s, like Hinshelwood, for example, comes into the first team. He's not off the team sheet now. So I think that's where Newcastle would really find themselves doing well if they manage to really focus on that area of what they've got to do at the moment.
And let's be honest, Tom, if as a Premier League team, you can say when you've got a player like Buenete, like I tell you what, we'll let him go out for a year, get a bit more experience, and still, be producing performances like that, then yeah, you got to look at them and take them seriously.
Yeah, exactly. And they've got other ones there as well. There'll probably be a name next year that'll pop up from their, in their first team. We'll go, who's this bloke? So that's like Julio Incinco. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my word, this guy's a wonder kid,
Yeah. That was another game that I got wrong. I went for a Brighton win. Oh no, hang on, it was a Brighton win, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a Brighton win.
I got 1 point there. I got 1 point. And why have we got Wolverhampton Wanderers up there?
I don't know, Chris. You've just been fiddling around with him.
That should have been that.
Yeah,
under a normal conversation, we would have been there by now.
He's on the piss. He's on the piss. He's got the bottle next to him. There he is.
Down in it. let me just say that under normal circumstances, we would have actually been at that game by now, but it's just that with Craig, we're still on the second game.
Don't blame me for everything.
Oh,
It's your bloody fault as well. Come
I
on.
got a point there.
Remember, the Forest game's on Friday this week, Chris. We've got to get a move on.
I know, exactly. Oh, you'll learn all about Craig. You'll learn all about Craig. Fulham, Aston Villa, Craig. 3-1 there. I actually went for a 2-1. Bloody Villa cost me 2 points there, getting that third goal. But looking at it, Fulham went ahead after 5 minutes. Didn't last very long. Rodgers got one back 4 minutes later. Watkins, as he always does, gets a goal. Dieppe put the ball in his own net for Fulham. So I think that should still count as 2-1 and I should get 3 points. But there we go. And then a couple of players went off.
Don't give it to him.
Anderson on 64 and Philongwe on 94. Bit of bad blood towards the end there, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think Villa are a fantastic side. Villa are a really, really good side. As a Fulham, to be honest, Fulham come out the traps very, very quickly in this match, and they did, of course, get that early goal. But Villa are very good at pegging teams back. We've got them this weekend coming, and to be honest, even though we've beaten Arsenal, I am nervous of Villa because I think that they, even if they go ahead, they have got that real bite. It probably drives them on even more. They don't look like they've been affected by the Champions League, So at the end of the day, of course, they have got a game during the week. I'm not sure who they're playing actually during the week. I don't think he's one of the big teams, but I gotta be honest. Even though they have got, that Champions League game, I think that it's gonna be such a difficult match, and it doesn't faze them. No. I think, and dare I say this, I think they could be surprise title challengers this year, Aston Villa.
Well, I had them down to finish third, I think it was. So I'm up there with you. They're sat fourth at the moment, Tom. Fulham at ninth. Look, Fulham, they gave us a lesson earlier in the season. I thought, Fulham, we might get something here. They made us. It was men against boys when we played them. They looked a really good side. They've got a manager that's been there a while and has given them stability. He's got players. He didn't go out and buy a whole, 2 more teams worth of players. He just bought what he needed, and he bought very well. And I think Fulham will be up there at the end of the season, this season as well.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think they played very well. It was nice to see a Route 1 goal, may I say. For the amount of teams now that play out the back in the Premier League, I was like, fair play for them, because if you've got that under your belt, especially against a team like Villa, like we were saying, who are incredibly good at normally, not allowing these things to happen. Ping it over the top of them, they're not going to do anything. So I was really impressed with that. Although I must say their penalty take is going to be desired, isn't it? But that was the worst thing I've seen since Jan Kermigan at Cardiff. It was pretty awful.
Don't swear! Don't swear! Jan Kermigan is a legend here.
I know he is, and probably other places as well. But there's times and places in life, correct? And that was one.
Can I just say it shows the standard of heroes at Bournemouth is very low when Jan Kermigrant is a hero.
Oh, come on! The man led us into the Premier League. He was part of that squad. Come on, Chris.
Anyway, you were saying, Tom.
Well, basically, I completely agree with you. I think the thing about Fulham is that they're very good at getting a free transfer in as well. So the thing that their transfer business I like to see, because they do things slightly differently to the other teams around them as well. It's almost like they've got a different way to a Brighton. They'll go grab a Willian or an Andres, for cheap, or and just try and build a team of Tete at right back or whatever. And I just think they're really impressive. And the thing I like about Silva, and I wanted him as Leicester manager at one point back in the day. I thought he was a very good manager. And the thing I like about him is they seem versatile. They seem able to play the ball on the ground. They seem able to get into the right places and cause teams problems. They've got a bit of skill, and like I said, they can chuck a long ball over as well. So I think teams are going to find it very difficult with Fulham because they can mix it up and they'll always get a goal generally.
Sometimes, Craig, a manager just needs to find the club that suits him. I mean, Silva at Everton didn't work. And I think, a lot of us, me included, thought, well, that's him over as a Premier, League manager. But he's doing a great job, like we say, at Fulham. And this game, to say it was 3-1, 52-48% possession, 10 shots for Fulham, 14 for Villa, 4 on target, 5 for Villa. It was a very even match.
Yeah, I think Marco Silva's an excellent manager. Let's be honest, nobody can get a song out of Everton, really.
No.
Everton is just Everton, really. So yeah, it's I think he's doing an excellent job at Fulham. It's a job that Scott Parker certainly couldn't do, and he couldn't do it here either.
My old man's a dustman. He wears a dustman's hat.
I was going to sing the Jan Kermorgan song. Kermorgan, my lord, Kermorgan.
That's not one we got.
No.
One went on the radio and it was pretty famous. Well, that chap wrote one, didn't he? I've forgotten his name now. He wrote the one about Kermorgan. Every now and then a player comes. Yeah, we remember.
Yeah, that's the one. Thank you. I have been going to therapy for many years to get over that, and you've just brought it back now, both of you.
Do you know what? I'm going to find it. 2 fans down the pub. I am going to be playing it in the background.
Oh, that's a long way off coming back. Then that show.
No, everybody, let us know if you want 2 fans down the pub.
0, Everton 2, Tom. Ipswich came up, and I've got to say, I'm sad to see Ipswich struggling. I would have loved to have seen. I really would. I like Ipswich as a club, and I would have loved it, as Kevin Keegan would have said, loved it if they'd done well. I had this one down as a draw, so I did get this one wrong. Everton. Somebody who said in the watch along, they've got about 29 lives, haven't they?
Well, it was a really odd game because I think Ipswich looked like a team that felt the weight of expectation on them in that game. Before they were a bit more free, but they kind of felt like this is the game we have to win at home. And the 2 goals they gave away to Everton, they literally gave them inside their own defensive box. And really, they gifted the entire game to them. It was literally a couple of mistakes. And there was a chance early on, if they'd taken the lead 1-0, I believe I wrote this down. Let me find my notes. Who was the chap?
Oh my God! You made notes.
I've got 4 pages.
Mate. You can come back.
I did 4 pages of notes. I got notes. I believe actually it was Wes Burns. No, it wasn't. Sorry, it was Clark. I think it was Clark. Because he had a bit of a lively game for me. He was the only one, but he had a chance about 7 or 8 minutes in, and he put it over. And it's like the goal was gaping. It was inside the area. 1-0 there for Ipswich. The confidence going. I think we have a different football match on that day. But unfortunately for them, they kind of dropped the bollock, and Everton were gifted it.
Craig, when Forest came up,
they
went out and bought about 500 players. But in fairness to Forest, and I don't hate being fair to Forest, but I have to be fair to them, they probably needed it because they had so many loan players that they'd got in on loan that went back to the parent clubs. Ipswich, and I was a little bit jealous because they were like Schmodix, I would have liked at our club. And a lot of other players, they were made what I was thinking was some very good signings, but they just made so many. And to me, and I know somebody said that, well, some of the players that got there were actually with them in League Two, but that's fine. They should be given the chance in the Premier League. They're going to be there thinking, we've got them here, and now we're being shit upon. And it doesn't do much for players' confidence. And we say about Cooper not knowing his starting 11. McKenna seems to be changing it pretty regularly. I think buying all them players could actually cost Ipswich their place in the top flight.
I kind of agree, but disagree. Personally, I think Ipswich, were a couple of years ago when they were in League One. I watched them against Bracknell Town, of all places. Do you know where Bracknell Town is?
I can't say it's at the top of my
See,
login.
Tom knows where it is. I've been to Bracknell.
It was Slough before Slough.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was. Yeah,
pretty much.
basically,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
imagine the office, it was probably earmarked to go there before they realised. Oh, actually, there's somewhere a little bit more shit up the road called Slough. But a lot of those players, who did perform so well in the championship, were back there in that time. Sorry, Ants in Bracknell.
No, he's not. But
Oh, okay. I
I
thought
think
he was in
that's
Bracknell. I
referring
thought
to something else.
I've just offended. I've just offended his hometown. Yeah. To be perfectly honest, I think that they had to make some signings. If they hadn't made the signings, I think they would have given it a real good go. But I think they would have probably gone down anyway. So they have made some signings. Sammy Smocic, a good signing. I can't say his name, but I think he's a very good signing. I think there's the quality is improved. I think Kieran McKenna is going to need a little bit more time to get that team working. But I think they'll have a fight. I think they'll fight. I think they'll fight. Of course, on Saturday, Everton did what Everton do, which is just, well, bore everybody to fucking tears, firstly, and secondly, somehow sneak a win out of it. So, yeah, I'm not surprised by this result. I did think that Ipswich might have beaten Everton, but it doesn't surprise me. It's a Sean Dyche team, they win ugly, don't they? I tell you what, though, and here's something for Everton fans. If you sack Sean Dyche, you are absolutely screwed because they're now in that Burnley mode. And if Everton decide, right, okay, we want to bring in a new manager, it's going to take a long time for them to get out of that Burnley mode. And let's be fair, they're only going to sack Sean Dyche. They're not going to sack him, when they're 12th in the league. They're going to sack him when they're in the relegation zone.
Well, Sam Allardyce is still looking, isn't he? Tom,
I don't think he could. I don't think Sam Allardyce could do anything to save him. I don't think Pep Guardiola could turn around to Sean Dyche team quick enough.
Well, I'm going to say hi to Ant. Like I said, I think, unfortunately, with Ant, I was a little bit behind with his comments, so I think he was referring to earlier things. And Katie is in. Hello, Katie. How are you doing? Nice.
Hello, Kate. You're right.
To see you. Nice. I've got to say, 16 players they signed. Tom.
Yeah.
126 million pounds spent. 127 and 126 and a half. 16 players. I mean, I just think it completely throws the. I mean, we had the problem with the new manager coming in, and I think it's the same. You're signing more than a team and a half, aren't you?
You are, yeah, and I think the problem. Well, I think the thing with that is that, I mean, fair play to them. It shows a lot of faith in the manager to go, right, we can sign this many players. We'll think you'll get them up to speed into your system quick enough to really make it work. But Ipswich, they really are the problem they've got this year is they're not in the Championship. In the Championship, they could make these mistakes, and they would still go down the other end and create enough opportunities to score goals. And of course, that has now got a little bit more difficult, even with the players they've brought in, and also the money they spent the players on. I mean, I think a lot of them are top level Championship players, but how many of them are Premier League players?
Yeah,
that is also
very true.
Yeah, and don't forget, like last year, you could always rely on Ipswich getting a last minute equaliser, or even a last minute winner. The number of times I would look at it and think, yeah, Ipswich are losing, go off, have a piss, come back, 99 minutes, and they've got an equaliser,
I think they're sadly going down, yeah. I mean, I hate to say this, I think they're sadly going down, but I mean, I think it will be like Craig was saying, with a very good effort, but I think they might just on the final day go down, which would be quite sad.
I don't think they can, what they did last season, they can do this season with them, coming back. Craig, you were going to say about Kate?
Kate's hit the nail on the head there with that word, naive.
Yes, I wrote that. Yeah.
Completely agree with that, 100%. And Everton, I've got a word for Everton. Shit's housery.
Yeah.
They're just. I don't get it. I don't get Everton. To be fair, it was our worst performance of the whole season. Even though we were beaten up at the King Power, I can honestly say that Everton performance was the worst one of the season. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can keep
I
going
mean,
on. Stop going on about it now, Chris. But I tell you
you
what,
brought it up.
I
didn't
did bring it
bring
up.
up.
I did bring it up. But
Yeah.
you,
Let me just
but
say the difference between these two teams and the possession they both had was like 55% Ipswich, and they were at home though 44% Everton. They both had virtually the same number of shots: 13 for Ipswich, 11 for Everton. And I would be going mad if this was Leicester, because out of those 13 shots, all Ipswich got on target was 2. And
yeah,
in this league, Tom, that is not good
Yeah.
enough. It's
And
not good enough in any league, let's be honest with you. 11 shots for Everton, but they got 8 of those on target.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head there, because in the Championship, I think you could add 10 more shots on target to that figure, probably, or 10 more shots generally, of which 5 will be on target. And of course, like you say, late minute goals, they go in. Eventually, they kind of last season broke teams down with a very aggressive style of football, which I really respected, because they were kind of fighting above their expected place, obviously, coming from League One. I like it, but it is kind of that thing of we're going to watch them work themselves to death, really. And like Kate said rightly, the word was naive. I mean, they gave Everton those 2 goals. If you watch back, they had the ball at their own feet in their own defensive zone, and they didn't get rid of it. Just had to kick it out, and literally then it goes to the guy and he kicks it. And it was insane, really. I'd have been doing my Swede, yeah.
we gave Everton 2 goals, to be honest. But luckily, in the 87th minute, we decided that we was going to play out of our skin. I don't know where it come from, but
It was
yeah.
beautiful. It was beautiful.
Shame you didn't do that at the King Power, wasn't it, really?
Well, to be honest, I said straight after that match, it's lucky we went 2-0 down playing that shit against Everton, because any other team across the whole Premier League, including at Southampton, no, actually not including Southampton, apart from Everton and Southampton, we wouldn't have got back in that. Oh,
Right.
come on, Chris. Come on. We're going to get
we're not
to your
talking Bournemouth.
We're going to get to your comeback. Oh, I had to add Southampton in there because I just thought for a second, no, firstly, they are absolute
Just
shot
to
and
let you
piss.
know, everybody, if you are watching, we're going to be the 3 games that you can see highlighted in blue, green, and red are the 3 games that we're going to go on in more detail. Which basically, when I say more detail, means Craig's going to be talking for 20 minutes instead of 10. But what we've got is we're going to do the Liverpool-Chelsea one first. And in fairness, a damn good win for Bournemouth, and well done to Bournemouth. First time I think you've beaten them in since the Second World War? And then,
No.
That was a rhetorical question, Craig.
No,
It was a rhetorical question.
Jordan
I'm not looking
scored
for
the
an
winner.
answer. I'm not looking. He's got to learn when this is a rhetorical question, and I'm not looking for an answer.
Yes, as soon as you said Jordan Ive, I was hoping you pressed the button. Literally, Jordan Ive, I was like, take him off, get rid of him now.
Exactly. But and the last game we'll be doing, obviously, is the Southampton-Leicester one. Rhetorical, Craig.
Rhetorical. What even is that word?
It means you don't need to answer back. It's just a question that I'm putting out there.
It's basically a question you don't have to answer properly because the answer doesn't matter.
Yeah, basically.
The answer does matter, though. Come on.
Right, we're moving on to Spurs versus West Ham. Now, look, Spurs, they're like bride's knickers on a wedding night. They're up and down every other time, aren't they? They lost obviously to Brighton. I had them down for the win. I've got to say, I'm going to get a point, but I thought I need 2-1. But look, they went to town. They had a point to prove, Tom, and they went to town here. West Ham, I mean, the sending off was the most weirdest sending off I think I've seen for a long time. I didn't get that at all. But maybe it was something that had happened that was earlier on in the game that was going on. But I want to start with West Ham with you, Tom. We said earlier, and it might have been Craig that said it. I think it was Craig that said it, and I know I don't often quote Craig, but he did say about one team, be careful what you wish for. I think it was Newcastle. West Ham fans wanted Moyes out, weren't happy with Moyes. Moyes had just won them a European trophy. He'd got them into Europe, they were top half. You know, he'd been there twice. He'd come in twice and saved them from relegation. He'd got them into Europe. He actually won a European competition, something we didn't do. But they weren't happy. They wanted him out. They wanted him gone. They got in Lopetegui, whatever he's called. And, you know, now they're down in 15th. They're actually below us. They've lost 3. Drawn 2, won 2. They beat Palace and they beat Ipswich. Not great guns. I mean, Lopetegui, wasn't he at Wolves and got sacked? I mean, West Ham United, I think they are really, really, really going to regret getting rid of David Moyes.
I think you're right. And I think the reason why is because like not every team in the Premier League can play out from to the point where obviously they were a great success. The problem is like I say, there's too many teams now playing out from the back, and West Ham haven't got the quality to play out from the back as well as other teams. I think they could be in big trouble. I really mean that, because I think outside of Kudus, I don't see a lot of quality there right now. It might not be gelling. It might be that reason. But this one was that red card was so silly, because now he's going to be gone for what? A game? 2 games? They can't afford to.
It's a straight red, so it's 2 games, isn't it?
Yes, I think it must be 2 games. And I'm just thinking that is at the end of the game to do that. And now you've got to face 2 games without your main outlet, because he was the only one in the first half who was getting free from the Tottenham players, creating the space, and obviously scored the goal. And so
and they had, as you said there, Tom, they had taken the lead.
Yeah, they had. Yeah, and they could have gone 2 up. He had a chance before that, and once again it was Kudus again. I just think they're a little bit lightweight, West Ham, in their squad depth to be trying to play this way as well. I think if you're going to do this, I think you've got to have a certain type of player as well. And West Ham are kind of trying to do something to appease their fans that they really haven't got the depth or base to do. That's my honest truth.
Craig.
Yeah.
try and explain this. Let's imagine somebody's just landed from Jupiter and they've tuned into this program and they're wondering, who is this Tottenham Hotspur? Explain to people. I mean, I don't get Tottenham. I like Ange. I absolutely love him to bits. I just, their season, they drew with us in the opening day, beat Everton, lost to Newcastle, lost to Arsenal, beat Brentford, beat Man United, lost to Brighton, and now they're beating West Ham. Like I said, the proverbial up and down.
Yeah, if say, for example, a little Martian decided to land from outer space, from the planet Zog, it would come here and it would look at Tottenham and think, what the fuck is that? And is that my parents' spaceship that they play in?
Or the Jolly Green Giants toilet, whichever way you want to look at
it. Yeah, they are up and down more than Katie Price's knickers. I really don't understand them.
Allegedly, can I just say, allegedly?
Oh, yes. Make sure that you don't get in trouble.
I'm going to write that as a sign to hold up.
Things that Craig he says on behalf of Up the Cherries in all departments, and not on anything.
No, Up the Clarets in all department. I say,
I got it right that time. Don't knock me. But yeah, I mean, they're all over the place. And again, you think that, all right, they may get a cup, and I do like Ange, but they haven't got that consistency, have they?
No. I just think they've got a lot of quality in that football club. You know, I really do like Son. Of course, I like Solanke. Solanke's brilliant. But
Now he's moved to a decent club, yeah.
oh, shut up! They're not decent. They're not decent.
I
Nobody knows
disagree,
what they're
Chris.
bloody getting from.
No, at least he gets in the England squad now, though. But Katie's made a point that I was going to ask you, Craig, and that is interesting how the tide turned for Spurs when Maddison was subbed. And it was almost like, are we going to maybe not see much of him this season?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know really what Ange thinks of him. I don't know if Ange really knows how to play him.
He's polarising the Spurs fans at the minute, just to say, sorry, Craig, but I know he's polarising the Spurs fans 50-50. Carry on, Craig, sorry.
No, that's all right. That's basically what I was. You hit the nail on the head there, Tom. And, you know, I think Kate's made a very, very good point where I just don't think they know where he fits in. You know, I don't think Ange personally knows what his best side is there. What he has got is a lot of players that are very good on their day. The big part there is on their day. They don't have their days all the time, and certain players let them down. Now, if they had their day, all of them, for 38 games,
or 7 days a week, even,
they'd be Premier League. They'd be Premier League champions, but of course they are Spurs, and you don't really know what you're getting, whether or not you're getting a load of shite, or whether or not you're going to get something that's good. You know, hopefully, fingers crossed, we have the Spurs that turned up the first game of the season against you guys when we play them in the future. So yeah,
Spurs have got you next. Would you prefer? Would you be more worried if Sarr was starting and not Maddison?
It's an interesting one. They haven't got us next, you know.
I thought you said they had. Sorry.
No, Chris. What I was saying, it was a rhetorical question.
You don't even know what that means, so don't you be throwing that at me.
No, I was saying if we did have Spurs next.
Well, you see, you confused me. Who have they got next then, Spurs?
Why are you looking, Chris? Just to say, Kulusevski obviously was moved into where Maddison was, and he scored a goal. And by all accounts, he wants to play as attacking mid, apparently, rather than coming in on the flank. So I think Maddison's got to be a little bit careful here as well, because if he's not going to deliver, and Kulusevski immediately goes in there and starts playing really well, which we know he can do, because he's a very good player, there might be a problem for Maddison there.
I'm just trying to see who they've got next.
They've got Crystal Palace away from home, so to be honest, that shouldn't be too hard a game for them.
It's the sort of game they'd probably mess up, and then they'd have to return favour next week. But there we are.
Yeah,
they're probably going to lose to Palace.
Oh gosh, that's the sort of game, isn't it? He's really that's
Tom,
Spurs.
But it is exactly. But Tom, I mean, obviously he Ange must have wanted Maddison, because Ange was manager when Maddison went there, so he must have wanted him. We said at the time, has Maddison picked the wrong team? I'm sorry, Katie, but Craig came before you. But then again, I believe, according to his wife, that's something he does regularly.
He has to devalue the whole conversation. Just so
you started it right at the start.
You make it this whole channel. Bloody hell!
I didn't know.
Anyway,
as
I was saying,
you know what? Everything's made up with the cow's arse and all sorts. You know,
it's all true.
It's not fucking true at all.
He's a vet, Tom. He's a vet. You can go and ask his fellow presenters on Up the Cherries and All Departments. They will tell you he's a vet. But no, I mean, when we're talking Maddison, I think, in fact, he's in. Matthew is in. This is Craig's fellow presenter. Has anyone got the word in yet? Matthew, please tell me. Oh, yes. Here we go. Look, Matthew. Paddy the Vet. That's who he
Paddy the
is.
Vet.
See?
This is getting a bit much.
Best
now,
cow
isn't it?
milker in the south.
Actually, I'm good at doing that because I used to be a gynecologist. You know, I'm retired now. I just do it now and again. I just leave keep my hand in.
Gynecologist
Anyway,
doesn't
moving on
mean
quickly.
that you're successful at doing that.
You missed my joke. Then you were talking all over it. So Matthew,
No. You've just moved on because you think,
But
no,
Tom,
secret's out.
Yeah, Madison is. He's got to really be careful, hasn't he?
It's funny because there's times I've watched Maddison play for Spurs this season, and I've got vibes of when he was playing for Leicester the year we got relegated. It's almost like he doesn't trust one or two of the people behind him. He comes a bit too deep, and then he's not effective where he needs to be. And consequently, when that happens, so I've lost my light, I'll put it back on in a minute. And when that happens, he ends up getting himself into trouble. We were talking about Leicester Fulham last year at one point. Remember when he managed to give them a goal because he was way too deep and trying to do, and he should have trusted the guy behind him. So I don't know. With Maddison, I think sometimes he gets himself in trouble, and sometimes he's a bit disingenuous, which doesn't really, make the fans really take to him, I find.
Indeed. Well, moving on to the next game, which brings us along to Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Manchester. You still with us, Tom?
That'd be light. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Not a problem. Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Manchester City 2. Wow. I caught the end of this. Sometimes they say, don't they, Craig, you need a bit of a luck sometimes to win the league. This is the point, I think, if we...
He's completely missed that. He's completely missed it.
Hey, it wasn't me. It was definitely him.
You said you caught the end of this, and I was going to say, I said you got to be a bit careful of that,
Okay, moving on.
It's always funny when you got to explain it, mate. When I was doing stand-up, I always found if I had to explain the joke, they were definitely laughing twice as much.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, you might have to explain 3 times to Chris.
When you have to explain it, then, give up.
Do you know what? He just invites me on here for the comment.
Anyway, Tom, let me ask you instead.
Yes.
Manchester City lucky, would you say?
Yeah, they were, surprisingly so, weren't they? I mean, I completely shit the bed on this. I went 6-0 Man City. I thought this was going to be one of their days they're going to run riot. And but yeah, it was funny. It was a really lethargic game. When I was watching, I was thinking Wolves are set up really quite well. They're going to do all the attacking with the fullbacks. They're going to literally push up, and they're going to be really tight at the back with 3 at the back, and then the 2 wing backs. Wolves played their game really well, and with that goal at the end, I mean, you feel for Wolves because if you look at how that all unfolded, it was like 4 corners in a row, and every time he was there, but every other time he kind of got out of the way until the last one that went in. Yeah, so I found that was quite interesting, really. So I don't think that goal should have been given personally, because the other ones he did get out of the way before the ball came in. This one he was there. It's really harsh to give that in the circumstances, but maybe that's more of a romanticised view for myself rather than logical, because I felt really sorry for Wolves.
But do you think? Did you manage to watch this one at all, Craig?
I saw parts of it. Yeah, saw the highlights.
Did you see the winning goal?
I personally think, yeah. I
mean, no, we're not protecting goalkeepers too much. I mean, all right, so he was stood in front of him. But when the ball came in, I think he was actually being pushed out the way by the keeper.
I've got a question, though, off the back of your question. If that was for Manchester City, I think that this would have gone against Wolves. And that's the problem. This is the problem. I can understand why Sir Gary O'Neill, is so upset by, because let's be honest, how many? Oh dear,
We're
no,
not afraid of demonetisation.
no, I didn't go down the Paradise Club like you do, Chris, with Gary O'Neill.
You know the names of all these places. You wonder what you signed up for here, Tom, haven't you?
Oh dear,
You
No,
know.
I'm loving
honestly,
it.
But no, Tom, do you
he
not?
loved it.
Are we
He
not?
loved it.
It's
But
not.
a lot worse, trust me.
It's not a.
Gary O'Neill.
It's not. I'm not going to say, because obviously you've got in my mind, I'd sooner sometimes watch a women's game than the men's game, because they don't roll about. They don't, I got touched, or he farted as I went past, book him. They don't try and get players sent off. They just get up and get on with it. And for some think that women's football could have a baby in the middle of the game and they still get up and get on with it, while the men, are rolling around. I mean, that
Yeah.
we
Well,
are overprotecting too much. Touch them, it's a free kick, and just get on
Yeah.
with the game. It's a contact sport, for God's sake.
I mean, we haven't got to the game yet, but obviously in the Chelsea Liverpool one, there was a goalkeeper incident as well, which was a different one as well, but actually, the reverse of that almost. So like Craig was saying, I think he hit the nail on the head here. It is an issue about it being the same for everyone, and I think the perception out there for fans is that, like Craig was saying, if that was against Manchester City on behalf of Wolves, it probably wouldn't have been given. And because that is what we have seen in the VAR decisions now going back for a few years. There's certain clubs that seem to be, for whatever reason, getting away with a little bit more luck, I'm going to use as the word, because we don't want to get too deep into the conspiracy theories about it. But yeah, but I think it's harsh. I mean, I know we're protecting keepers a bit too much perhaps, but ultimately he was offside and he wasn't.
I think the problem is, and I've got to say, as Katie says there, Silver nudged him, but without that, he's in the 6-yard box. How on earth can you say he's not interfering? Made a grey rule worse. And Neil was right in his interview. There is emotional bias in the game. I mean, it's at Wolves, so it wasn't, like it was at the Etihad. We always say that about Man United, didn't we, or Old Trafford. I just think that the rules need to be looked at, and we say this all the time over everything, because there are too many grey areas. There was a and we'll come on to the Leicester game later, but there was a claim for a Southampton penalty, but it was a case of where it hit him on the arm, and because it hit him at the top, it's not handball. At what point, hands here, that's arm. I mean, it's ridiculous. There are so many grey areas. If it comes out, look, to my mind, if there's a player between the last, an opposition player between the last defender and the goalkeeper, wherever he is, even if he's sat on the touchline, he should be offside. But all this interfering with playing, is it a passage of the butter game, or is it a different passage of the game?
This is a soapbox, Chris, right? And this is what is being opened. All right, put that away for a second. The thing is with VAR and why it was dangerous when they introduced it into football, is because of this very reason. How can they write rules for every single possible incident on the pitch? The problem is there is always going to be, and like we had in our game against Newcastle, where Dongo fairly headed the ball and it hit his shoulder, went in, and Dan Burns' hand was closer to the ball than Dongo's was. There is so much room, and the thing is I do, and I've changed my stance a little bit on this. The room for error now is that much. It's so slender. Whereas if Mark Halsey or Jeff Winter or Graham Poll or whoever got a decision wrong back in the day, it was just their decision. It was how they saw the game. there wasn't fucking lines on the pitch and looking at goal line technology and looking at,
Well, I think
you
there's
know.
always been lines on the pitch, mate. Otherwise, we wouldn't
Oh,
know where the edge of the
well,
pitch
you
was.
know what I mean. Bloody lines on the TV. We weren't over reliant on technology. Do you know what? He's a fucking comedian, that man.
I'm going to say, I don't think I've ever watched a game of football with no lines on the pitch.
Well,
No, I am being
I tell you
facetious,
what. I
Craig.
tell you what. If you went down to this county ground back in the 90s, then you'd see no lines on the pitch because
Yeah.
it was that fucking muddy
Oh,
that there
yeah, I
was
know.
no lines on the pitch.
It is, and I just think that let's be honest with you, we do know that there is favouritism. Whether they say it or not, there is favouritism for certain clubs. The whole Premier League, it is not marketed for English fans or fans in England. It's marketed for the foreign markets, whether that's America, Asia. And I was in Australia. If I'd wanted to, I could have watched any 3 o'clock game free of charge. Absolutely bloody stupid, In fact, mind you, it's probably cheaper than getting a season ticket to Arsenal. But
yeah, but Chris, I favour Margot Robbie over Gemma Collins, but it doesn't mean it's going to turn up.
No, she won't for you, would she? Let's be honest with you. She got paid.
Like
John said, 85 touches for Manchester in the Wolves box, 4 for Wolves in their box, shots 3 for Wolves, 22 for Manchester City, possession 77.6 for Man City, 22.4 for Wolves. Those are stats, Tom, that I would say, if I was the owner of Wolves, would be looking at that and think, we need somebody in that's going to change this round. Yes, I know it's Manchester City, but at least put up a fight.
I would normally agree with you, but I actually think when I watched this, I thought to myself, I'm actually becoming a convert to O'Neill on this one. I think he actually had a very nice system. I think the stats kind of make it look better than what it was, because Manchester City actually were pretty lethargic by their standards. They didn't really get out of first gear. They nicked it. On another day, I think Wolves would have probably got a point, which would have been more than enough to satisfy their fans in the circumstances. I think this is all about the next game for Wolves now. I think they've got to take from this a level of performance, and I think if they can turn it into the next game and get a nice win, then we're there.
Indeed.
Yes. We saw what that said, but yes, I think it's. So I don't think they're there yet, Chris. I don't think they should panic just yet, but I think in a couple of weeks' time, if they get hammered once or twice more, they might have to make a decision.
They said earlier, Craig, I was listening to Talk Sport, and there's 2 managers, Russell Martin, and we'll obviously come on to the Southampton game later, but Russell Martin and Gary O'Neill. They think Gary O'Neill, well, Russell Martin's got a bit in the tank because they said it's a 10-year project and they're only a year into it. But my God, if they keep him in 9 years' time, they might be in the conference. Gary O'Neill, sorry. I don't know. I mean, how long do you give these managers? I mean,
mate, he's not done anything wrong. Look at the teams he's
I mean,
played.
he's not done anything
He's played
wrong.
Arsenal away,
Yet.
Chelsea at home. The 1-1 draw against Forest, Newcastle at home, Aston Villa away, Liverpool at home, Brentford, maybe 5-3, and Man City at home. He has had no fucking chance. Southampton have played us. They've played you. They've played. Who else have Southampton played?
Okay, Southampton have played Newcastle, Forest, Brentford,
Brentford,
Manchester United, Ipswich, Aston Villa.
He's had the worst. He's had the worst possible. I'm sorry, but Southampton's run has been far easier than Gary's has. I'm not taking that.
But Gary's a
Villa,
bit more of an experienced Premier League manager.
Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal. No, but they're all bonus games.
Sorry, I know you love Gary O'Neill, but if you can't stand the heat, you shouldn't be in the kitchen.
He's played the top 6 in his first 7 fucking games. Sorry, 8 games. I do apologise. You know, the only team that you could turn around and say, well, he's had any possible chance of, beating is Forest and Brentford. Got a
Yeah,
point against
so you
Forest
go
and,
away.
Brentford.
You
But
go
I
away to a
no,
club.
no,
You go
no.
away to a
I
club.
disagree completely.
Let me. You've said. Let me come back on you. You go away in this league. You score
Mm,
3 goals, and you
yes.
don't even come away with the point. That is disgraceful. And it was not even a top 6 club. That was Brentford, who
Yeah, but look how many
aren't having a
teams have
brilliant
done
season
that throughout
themselves.
the years, Chris. You know, Man United did that when they were humped 6-3 by fucking,
Yeah, but
Southampton
if
all
they
those
won
years
some of the
ago.
other games, I mean, all right, you could say, well, look who they've had to play. Well, if you don't want to play those teams, don't be in the Premier League, and we probably
But,
won't be
but
by the end of the season.
no, but they took the lead. I think that a lot of people are being too
Yes,
harsh on
Southampton
Gary
took the
O'Neill.
lead; they still lost it.
You know, a 1-1 draw. If that goal had not stood and they'd got a 1-1 draw against Man City, everybody be going, "Well,
Yeah,
he's a messiah. He's fucking brilliant. He beat them last season." You
Yeah.
know, for
yeah,
God's
that was
sake,
last
give the
season.
man.
Yeah, that was
But
last season. We
look
won
at who
we
he's
won the
played. He's
Premier
played
League
Villa,
about 6
Liverpool,
seasons
City.
ago.
I don't take it. He's played the top six in his first 8 games, and yeah, don't get me wrong. 1 point out of the other 2 is disappointing. He'll be the first to say it,
Mm.
but he has got a depleted squad. Fosun are an absolute basket case of an ownership group at Wolves. Yeah, I think that he he hasn't got a tough job. They're selling all their fucking best players. I'm sorry, but I think he's doing a pretty decent job. And yeah, I'm not taking that. I think Gary has had the start from hell, whereas Russell Martin, well, to be honest, it starts being absolutely fine. Apart from Arsenal, you could say, well,
He
you
never
know,
actually shut up the whole time that
He
video
no,
was on.
no, but Russell Martin, yeah, Gary's more of an experienced manager, but he wasn't when he kept us up. This is what really pisses me off about some of our fans, our fans, Bournemouth fans, because it's like we had a squad that was probably under equipped, but he kept us up. Now I think he has now got a weaker squad at Wolves than he had at Bournemouth. Now make that work and
Let it go.
Question
oh
for you, Craig. Question,
yeah.
serious question now. Does Gary wear a condom?
Would you like to know the next 5 games the Wolves have got, lads? That way we can make a bit more of a decision. So the next 5 games
Yes.
takes us to the start of December, right? Which is when you think you want to make a decision, right? So
Yeah.
Brighton away, Palace at home,
Mhm.
Southampton at home, Fulham away, Bournemouth at home. Winnable.
Judge him after those.
Can
Yeah,
you
I
see
agree.
him
Go to
winning
the
any of
December.
those?
I can see 10 points minimum.
I'm sorry, I don't
I
think you
think.
can.
I think.
I don't think you
I
can
think.
be at home. I don't honestly think you can be at home, even to Manchester City, and have 3 shots in the game.
Well,
22%
Leicester haven't played us yet,
possession.
mate. We haven't
Sorry?
Oh
played us
bloody
yet.
hell, man! Uh, uh,
We'll probably have 3.
Chris,
Well,
Man City are
yeah, but we'll
bloody.
talk about that when it happens. I'm on about this
Man
game.
City are a quality side. To be fair, they break every fucking rule going to get where they want to go. You know, Wolves will beat Palace. Wolves will beat Southampton, both at Molineux. I think they'll give us a run for our money because of what we did to them last season at Molineux when they were depleted.
My God, Matthew is right. You fucking love him, don't you? You
I think
absolutely love
I
Gary O'Neill.
I do not get the Gary O'Neill hate. I really don't
I
because the
don't
man
hate him.
he's a
I just don't
decent.
think that he's been a good manager this season.
I think that he's had the fucking start from hell. And to be honest, hey, go back a couple of seasons. Well, no, go back about 5-6 years ago. We had a terrible start to the season. we had a terrible start to the season under our Messiah. Eddie Howe had a tough start to the season. Did we think, oh, hang on a minute, we're going to sack him now? No, of course we didn't. We let him continue, we let him go on, and he got us out of it. And that is what Gary O'Neill is going to do with Wolves, 100%. I don't
Tom,
take
do you
it.
remember 2015-16? We won the Premier League, didn't we?
We did after the Great Escape.
If you look back, but that was then. That was then. I had a shit
Wolves
2
aren't
hours
going to
ago.
do
Doesn't
that.
mean
Don't
that I'm still
worry.
shitting now.
I was going to slightly use the Great Escape as an example, though, because I think that season Leicester were near the bottom, obviously, and I wasn't piercing out because I felt we were playing all right in the same way I look at O'Neill's Wolves and go, I think they're playing well enough, but in a minute it's going to click. And I think
we were playing all right, and we'd actually, by the time we'd got to this point, we'd actually got a draw with Everton, and we'd beaten Man United 5-3, and I think we'd beaten somebody else as well. So we did have a better start. And I'll tell you something as well, we weren't sat there on minus 13 goals after 8 games, but. Look at
the team. Look at the teams that they played, Chris. Look at the teams that.
Anyway, we'll move on because he's just repeating himself now. So the next game, they're going down. Wolves are going down. Gary O'Neill, I think, is about the 4th favourite manager or the 4th one to be sacked next. So we will see.
He won't get sacked. He won't get sacked next.
Moving on, and we're going to go now to the first of our 3 big games that we're going to be covering, and we will do that because I need a break. I need a drink, so let's just have a bit of a break. And
should we go down the Wetherspoons?
Come back this.
Oh, no.
I wish I was down the fucking pub now, I'll tell you.
What, with me?
Not with you, no.
What's the point of this bloody show? 2 fans down the pub. Tom, are you about? I'll feel free, come down. We'll go down the pub, shall we?
Tom, you watched Liverpool 2, Chelsea 1. I was hoping for a Liverpool win, although I did actually have this down as a draw. Talk about the penalty for Liverpool. Or not?
Yeah, I mean, it was
interesting
because... hang on, I'm just going to look at my notes here, Chris, because it was such good. Oh, I've lost you there. Hang on. Are we back? I think I'm back. Sorry about that. I did have a moment there. I was going to say, I think the penalty to Liverpool, we're talking about... I'm literally looking through my notes and going, it was such a mental game that I can't even remember what happened when. I remember the penalty from Salah, sent the keeper... Mate, I've lost my head here. Hang on. I've got 2 pages of notes for this game, Chris. And they're all over the place. So I'm literally... I'll tell you what, I'm going to start from the beginning. How does
Start from
the
beginning of the game, then. Go on.
All this talk of this drink and that, I'm thinking, Christ, only a drink away with me going on about Wolves the last half an hour. Anyway, but yeah, no. I think the interesting thing was both teams kind of wanted to sit off each other. You could tell that at the start. It was kind of a bit of a nervy start, and then one team would sit off the other one. The other team would come onto them, and then the other team would counter them, which is what they were really wanting to do, especially Chelsea. I thought it was a terrific game of football. I think both teams could have won it. I think Liverpool had that little bit extra quality, perhaps, to be able to do it. I think it was a game of Salah versus Palmer, and maybe a bit of Curtis Jones mixed in the mix as well. Palmer had a bad game by all accounts. I think he was a 4 or 5 out of 10. He missed chances he normally would have put away, which would have changed the game. Salah, incredible. Every time they try to pressure him, what does he do? He just makes the man disappear like there's no one on him, and he's up the pitch. I thought his vision of passing was good. And also, Curtis Jones stood out to me. I thought he was a wonderful player on there. I thought his work rate was to be completely applauded, because I think the fans really respect it. I think it made a difference. These little things added up, and it was a game which should have had a red card as well, to be frank. It was amazing how they didn't get a red card in this game because there'd been 5 the entire weekend, I believe, which is a Premier League joint record. And I thought we could have gone past that this game. So it was a very intense game, as you can see from my 2 pages of notes, which are so scribbly that I can't even read them because it was so intense when I was watching it. So I probably should have quickly watched the highlights on my phone before you asked me that question. But all in all, I think it was probably the right result. Chelsea on another day could win the game. I thought Mo Salah and Curtis Jones were the men that kind of won it, really. They were just on their game on the day.
Craig, I mean, Chelsea's point of view this season, look, Enzo's gone there. And I don't like the way he left, but I understand why he left. He had to go when these offers come along. He's doing better than I thought he would at Chelsea. Still got, again, how many players does a club need? Kieran Dewsbury-Hall's gone there. I don't think he made an appearance at the weekend. I could be wrong, though. But, I mean, your thoughts on Chelsea?
To be honest, I think he has improved them. I think, what he's done there so far this season is good. Does he know what his best side is? Again, I think he's getting there. I think, I don't think he's 100% sure. I think what needs to happen now is I think that there needs to be a moment of stability at Chelsea because they will improve that way. They've got a very young squad. He needs to develop that squad. To be fair, they've got so it's ridiculous. I don't know how who all their players are. You've probably gone there, Chris. They probably tried to sign you as well. But yeah,
they couldn't afford me, mate. They couldn't afford me.
Couldn't they? No.
I'm waiting for Gary O'Neill's job.
Oh, are you? But yeah, I think personally, Chelsea. I think Chelsea, will get a lot better.
They have a proper identity now, I think, don't they? A proper identity now. They didn't really have that before. I think, I think they were kind of in between 2 houses with Pochettino a little bit. But now they're on the way, aren't they? Really? I mean, Enzo's style is very extreme, but it's a style.
But talking about Liverpool, I tell you what, Liverpool under Arne Slot, and from what I've seen of them so far this season, they seem to be a little bit more structured than under Jurgen Klopp. I think, Jurgen Klopp is seen as a hero at Anfield for winning that title after so many years, and they couldn't enjoy it because it was COVID. Or it only happened to them, didn't it?
Liverpool and Rangers that happened to as well. Rangers was the other one.
You win your first title in so long, and you can't enjoy it. You can't even be there because there's a bug going around the world. That if you watch the Borat second movie, it could be that Borat set off. I don't know if Chris is.
That's spoilers.
Oh, you've lost me. You've lost me.
Oh yeah. Actually, I think that's an instant ban actually for a spoiler, isn't it? Chris, have you ever watched the Borat movie?
No, I don't want to fucking talk about Borat. He's now to do with it. So going back to Chelsea, Craig.
I like you. Do you like me?
Oh, Craig, you're boring me now. Let me just talk to you, Tom. Liverpool, what can they do this season? Jurgen who?
Well, I think the interesting thing about the appointment is I think it's a very smart appointment because Liverpool play a lot of games because they're in a lot of competitions and they always run deep. I think with Klopp, they kind of reached the end. And I think behind the scenes, you could see a bit of tension because he demanded a lot of work from that squad. And you get to a point where you go, can you do this in a more smarter way? And that's where Slot comes in. Because they don't now run the entire game. They seem to pick their moments. They literally have moments where they'll hold the ball. They have moments where they'll break with the ball. And also they're dictating the game. And I think over the course of the season, this could be one of the smartest managerial appointments we've probably seen in the Premier League for a long time. Especially when you think normally managers from Holland, with all due respect to the Premier League, they don't normally translate well. There's normally, problems. Look at Van Gaal at Man United.
You understand? You tell Man United that.
Well, yeah, exactly. In Den Haag now. So I think it's amazing, really. I think I'll give them a lot of credit. I think if you look at the big 6, I think the way Liverpool have been run has been exceptional. Really, really exceptional.
Could they go on and win it this season?
I think so. I think they really can. I think Man City, funnily enough, this weekend showed that if they're not going to turn up, they might drop a few more points than what we expect. I think Liverpool, at least in this game, looked like if it did go to 2-2, I still think they'd have found a way to maybe win the game. If you know what I mean, it's almost like they've just, there's something about Liverpool, and with these teams in the top, there's normally a sign, and I just think Salah is still unbelievable. I mean, when he goes, they're going to have a challenge, no doubt about it, because I don't think he's replaceable, not for like 100 million quid, but.
When you look at, Klopp went. I don't understand. Yeah, he had one fantastic season with Liverpool when they won everything, and deservedly so. And for that, he should be lauded. But the fact that they do seem to think that he walks on water, I don't think he would have lasted that long at Chelsea or at Man United with his record. But fair play to Liverpool, and like I said, out of that one fantastic season. But then for him to go. What's he called?
Sorry, just getting the Mankini on, Chris.
Oh, God,
very nice.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'll turn it off if he is, mate, for a second.
Well, I'll tell you what, God, he keeps going on about Borat. He's not coming back in. Liverpool, like I say, got rid of Jurgen, brought Slot in. Was it one signing they made in the summer transfer window?
Yeah, it wasn't many, was it?
No, I'm not sure. At one point, they hadn't signed anybody. Whether they did at the end.
And if you think they're on their third choice goalkeeper at the moment as well, third choice goalkeeper.
I mean, he is getting a tune out of them, and fair play to them.
Yeah, I think he's doing a great job.
You think they could go all the way on?
I think they'll definitely win something. I'll put my hat on. They'll definitely win something this year. What it is, the FA Cup or the Champions League or the Premier League, but I think they will win something.
Yeah. Craig, cook Chelsea. Because if you don't, you're going. It's as simple as that.
I'm joking. You know I am.
I know, but
it was a bit cold. So I thought I'd put.
Right, Chelsea.
Go on.
What can they do this season? Can they win something this season?
No, but they can make progress.
I mean, I said, when we talk about Leicester later, I'll probably say it again, that I'm not sure if we had Enzo at Leicester that would have any more points than we've got under Cooper. Because I don't think Enzo Ball, as Russell Martin has proved, because he plays out from the back. I don't think it works in this division with the standard of players that Leicester and Southampton have got. Chelsea have got a hell of a lot better standard, so it probably works better for them. And I have to say, he is doing better than I think. Mm-hmm. Do you think? I mean, look, Liverpool, as Tom's just said, may well win it. Man City, Arsenal are going to be there. Villa possibly. Chelsea, if they get into the Europa League, will that be a disappointment? Do you think they can make Champions League?
No, I honestly think they'll probably finish fifth, around about that place, which will be good enough for European football, which I think they'll be quite happy with. The thing is I think that, hand on heart, I think Enzo needs a little bit more time to mould this club. They've got so many youngsters. They've got so many players. They've been, pulled from pillar to post for so long by Todd Bowley and everybody. I think, hand on heart, they won't win it or won't get European football. I think Liverpool definitely could, because they can shut teams out, and I think they could compete. As I think will Arsenal. Even though we beat them.
You said there, going back to Chelsea, that if he's given time,
if he's not given time, there's still a basket.
Will he be given time? I mean, I would turn round. I would turn round to you and say, that I think probably, despite everything I said before, which was basically just to play devil's advocate to you, Gary O'Neill might get longer at Wolves than Enzo might get at Chelsea if it doesn't, if it starts to go wrong.
Well, they're a basket case then, in that case, because what they need to do is they need to give him some time to mould this team, because there has been progress. To be honest, I think
But there was
Pochettino.
progress under Poch, wasn't it?
No, yeah, that's just what I was going to say. I think
Mm.
Pochettino started to help move them forwards.
Yeah.
But, this Todd Bowley and everybody there, I did a really good preview actually with Chelsea Fancast, and he went into a couple of more people behind the scenes that are pulling the strings. Todd Bowley is the figurehead and the big name, but there is other people behind the scenes. Now, if those people behind the scenes don't get it right or don't seem to get on, which seems to be the case, and decide to axe Enzo like they did Poch, it's just going to be a forever. That's why Watford, and I know Watford aren't in the Premier League anymore, but under the Pozzo family, this is why Watford had a very, very good team. They had probably their best team. The problem was with them was they sacked their manager more than I had hot dinners.
But
If they had persisted,
we'll wait and see what Chelsea do, and I think as long as it's going well, but if it doesn't go well, who knows? Anthony has just said there.
He completely missed that again, didn't he?
Sorry, you were going off again talking. You need a fucking sat nav, you do, because you go.
Do you know what? At least I please some people on this channel. Tom's had a smile.
I haven't.
Me,
you're nailing it. You've got this, man. I'm taking a back seat watching you do all the jokes tonight. This is amazing.
Do you know what? I tell you what, for Christmas, Chris.
Oh, here we go. Look, he's going off again. Will he stop going off?
He's going to fight us for beers, I think.
It's a pain in the fucking arse. We have a topic, and he just goes, he needs to get himself a sat nav so he knows where he's going and stop going off the topic. Right, breaking news. It's half time at the City Ground. It's Nottingham Forest 0, Crystal Palace 0. And I have got this down as a 2-0 Forest. So we know Palace are going to go and win it. Anthony said there, thank God I've missed the Arsenal game.
Oh, no, you haven't, Anthony. Stay tuned, my friend. Stay tuned.
Because
you can see my big smile.
Coming up next, we are looking at Bournemouth 2, Arsenal 0. And I have to say, before we go to Craig, Arsenal, if you're watching, and certainly Anthony there, obviously beating Bournemouth isn't for everybody, is it? But, I just thought I'd say that. Craig, fantastic result for you.
I've got some Arsenal fans coming in the chat to watch this, so be a little bit careful, lads. We want to make friends as well,
My fans love me.
My future son-in-law is an Arsenal fan, so
do you know what? All the Arsenal fans love me. Until this weekend, I did. I went on to Arsenal
They've got no taste,
I was reading all the comments. Oh, great man, all that. After this weekend,
they lost, didn't they? But look, this game, Craig, well done, mate. First time in how many years that you've beaten them?
Well, since 2018, when Callum Wilson and Jordan Ibe completed a 2-1 victory against.
Did you say Jordan Ayew then?
Ibe.
Oh, Ibe,
not
sorry.
Ayew, not Ayew. Jordan Ibe, yeah. To be honest, this was a great performance. I tell you what, I'll give you my honest opinion. When I saw the team sheet, I was like, okay. Justin Kluivert, not on the pitch, surprising. Marcus Tavernier starting. Surprising. Ryan Christie on the bench. Surprising. Dongo, of course, started. We were excellent from the first minute, and it was an equal game before it went down to 10 men. There is no way, this scoreline, when people look at it, they'll probably go, well, Arsenal went down to 10 men and then they lost the game. It was nothing like that.
I
It
agree.
was nothing like that. What actually happened was, and this is a big point, Iriola swapped both Semenyo and Dongo Watara over the sides, and that was so effective because we were cutting in a little bit more. Whereas, Semenyo normally plays on the right hand side. He was playing on the left for that first half. He was cutting in on the left, whereas on the right hand side, he likes swinging the balls in. Works perfectly.
Don't we all?
Evan Nilsson, I've knocked him, but I think how he played against Arsenal was absolutely fantastic, even though he didn't score. To win the penalty, to win the sending off, really. We'll come back to winning the penalty in a second, because of course that was the second half. It was a mistake by Leonardo Trossard. Evan Nilsson was aware. He ran past Saliba, and I don't blame Saliba at all, actually, for this. I blame Trossard because he played his man into trouble. That ball went too far back, and Saliba panicked and sent Evan Nilsson sprawling. Was it a red card? Yes, 100% it was. Was it Saliba's fault for the red card? No, it wasn't. Which might sound like a really stupid thing to say, but Trossard, gave Saliba a real issue. Now, he could have let Evan Nilsson run past him. And then if Evan Nilsson run past him, he'd either A, have to catch him up, or rely on Ben White, who wasn't... See, this is why it was a yellow card originally, because I think the referee thought that Ben White had meant that, Evan Nilsson wasn't the last man. Saliba wasn't the last man. But when you look at the VAR, he was, and there was that difference in it. So yeah, it was a red card, but I don't blame Saliba. But we carried on pressing. I did personally think that our intensity went up when Arsenal went down to 10 men. I'm not sure why Raheem Sterling was taken off the pitch for them. I've got to be perfectly honest about that. I think Arteta's substitutions were wrong. They brought on Kiwa. I think that's how you say it, Kiwa.
He was
They
awful.
brought on. Yeah, he was terrible.
awful. He actually lost them the game more than the red card, I think.
Yeah, and of course he was replaced himself at the end. And I thought our intensity went up, and that first goal, Ryan Christie, the corner coming in, the tap back by Clivert, Christie, top left hand corner. Christie's one of those players that you don't always expect to score. He tries things, but he's not really had much luck in front of goal, it's fair to say. He isn't a striker. He's not like Evan Nilsson, which is why we let him off. But this was pinpoint perfect off the training ground. And then Evan Nilsson, again, that man, again, what's that key or that let Evan Nilsson pass? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. Let Evan Nilsson past him. Raya at that point had no real, option but to go down for that ball. He was, because Evan Nilsson, I think, was going towards probably the corner rather than the goal. I think that's what probably saved Raya. If he was running towards goal, I personally think that, Raya would have been sent off, but really well dispatched goal. I've got to be honest. It was a red card all day long. But like I say, Anthony, I don't think that you can blame Saliba for that. You can blame Trossard all day long.
Going to move over to Tom. Otherwise that will go on longer than the 90 minutes of the match. Let me just ask you if you can give me a succinct answer here, Craig, before I get over to Tom.
Yeah.
even down with 10 men, and I'm not being disrespectful to Bournemouth, but even going down to 10 men, I kind of expected, and I wasn't really watching the game, so I can't say whether
No.
Arsenal deserved it, but going down to 10 men, you would say that Arsenal probably, on paper, should still have beaten Bournemouth.
They should have
Oh
got
yeah,
one.
yeah. I thought you was going to go the other way there.
Hmm.
To be honest, yeah. If you look at the squads, but look at what Arsenal did
That
a
was
couple of
the
weeks ago.
succinct. That was the
Yeah,
succinct answer there.
but you look at what you look at. Arsenal held Man City for so long. I tell you what they miss is they miss Saka. They miss Odegaard. That's what their biggest problem is.
Yeah.
And the sooner they get them back, they can win the league. But I think they need
Tom,
those two players back.
Tom, you still with me, Tom? Can you hear
I'm
me,
with you,
Tom?
mate. I'm with you. I'm with you.
God,
Am I allowed
that's his
am I-
succinct answer. Never, ever, ever ask Craig
Yeah.
to give a detailed answer.
Can I just quickly say I don't actually think it was a red card, and I tell you why. Because it was given as a yellow originally. I don't think there was enough in it to actually make it go to be changed. If you sort of mean, especially when you look at Liverpool versus Chelsea, very similar yellow card. Everyone said it was a yellow card, so I don't actually think it was a red. I actually think after that Arsenal had a great chance to go 1-0 up, which they fluffed, which was a really really big moment in the game, in spite
Yeah,
of being
I know
down
what
to
you
10
mean.
men. And we go back to the Killwall thing. Honest to God, he's the worst Arsenal defender I've seen in ages. He was responsible for both the goals. He looked a yard off the pace of everyone else, and he got his teammates in trouble. I think those little things really messed Arsenal up. I think on another day they could have at least got a point, really, in spite of the red card, which I still think was probably wrong.
Is it Tom, games like this that are going to cost Arsenal the title when you're thinking because Wolves had a difficult game against Man City had a difficult game against Wolves, but managed by hella high water to come out with the 3 points. Arsenal didn't, and I'm not taking anything away from Bournemouth. Bournemouth had 13 shots compared to Arsenal's 5. Possession was near as damn it is to swearing. Arsenal had 1 shot on target all game. Bournemouth, 28 touches in the Arsenal box. Bournemouth are going to finish top 10. I honestly think that. I think they've got a very good squad. But I do wonder if Arsenal have got enough still. They just haven't got that bit extra to take them. And they're unlucky because if they were around in another era and it wasn't Man City, they probably would have won a few things.
I think it's the Arsenal thing's interesting because I think with Arsenal, they're the team that's been highlighted to have more of these sliding door moments, as I call them, as you probably know, Chris, where they've had a VAR decision.
I'm pinching that tomorrow for my show tomorrow.
Yes, I saw that, mate, and I was glad to see you took that. I was like, yes, I've made an impact. Fantastic. But I think actually Arsenal's way out of this is actually simpler than what they realise, and that is that they've got to get out of this habit of being just 1 goal ahead in a really difficult game where they're going to be defending at the end, because VAR is going to become controversial for them. And before you know it, they've dropped 4 points, they've lost the title by 3, and it's all hell breaks loose. If they can then go 3-1 up instead, 4-1 up instead, and do what Man City do. Man City will beat some teams 6-0 this season. They will. Arsenal need to find that on certain days, and I think then this becomes a less of a factor for them, all these dodgy decisions that do go against them, apparently.
Yeah. Anthony says we're challenging for the league, but in that game you think it was Bournemouth that was challenging for it. Look, Bournemouth turned up. You guys, unfortunately, Arsenal, I don't think did. Fair play to Bournemouth. Congratulations to them. I had Arsenal as winning the league this season. I have seen nothing so far that convinces me they will do. Because not only have you got Man City to contend with, but you've also, unfortunately, now got Liverpool turning up the heat.
Yeah, but Chris, it's only 8 games in, and like we said with Gary O'Neill at Wolves, I think that Arsenal have got plenty of time. They did run Man City very, very close. They do need to improve.
But you can only you can only judge what you've seen so far. I can't judge Arsenal on the 2/3 of the season that we've not had yet. I can only judge them on what we've seen so far. And look, with Gary O'Neill, I think he'll be there longer than Russell Martin, but I just love winding you up. We've got 1 game to go, and of course, it's the big game. There is nothing like winning the game in the 98th minute. As Gary Lineker said, fatta woohoo! And we'll be doing it straight after this.
The TalkSport Fan Network is the ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts,
including Leicester Till I Die, independent analysis and reaction for the Foxes faithful.
The TalkSport Fan Network.
Unbeatable club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Follow the podcast on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Yes, indeed. Look, as you everybody knows, I actually write for the BBC every other Tuesday now. Kate does the other Tuesdays. We're very democratic like that. We both have completely different views on our team. At half time, I was thinking I would be writing Cooper's obituary because I said, as in managerial terms, I said that if he could not beat Southampton with the way they've been playing this season, then he does not deserve to be in our manager. And that's how I felt at half time. And look, we spoke after the game. And after the game, I'm thinking, my God, Steve Cooper, tactical genius, Tom?
Yeah, it was a funny one because at the start, it looked like it was a bit square peggy and round hole. It didn't really click what he was setting up to do. And Southampton obviously took advantage of that really well by being a little bit more up to the races quicker. The problem is, Chris, is that who is the person in the dressing room who's making the difference at half time at the moment? I think that's the big question. I can see Vardy being in there absolutely throwing stuff against the wall about that first half, and that'll be enough to scare one or two of the lads into really starting to be a bit more sharper, which is what we saw straight out of the box second half. And obviously then Fata will change it. So yeah, it really is a seismic game in regard to how it did shift. It was almost an earthquake occurred at half time, and the whole topography of the game was different.
Totally. And does he? I mean, I don't think he knows his starting, his best 11 yet. I mean, you can see the seeds of things that are happening out there. Like Okoli and FaZe, they are becoming a great defensive duo, and I think that will develop over the season. I think if it's given a chance, Winks and Skip could go that way as well. And Winks, when he came on, I mean, we all kind of knew he'd be dropped because he was dropped against Bournemouth and we went and beat Bournemouth. We just knew he wasn't going to start. He's got this thing with Ndidi. Kate can't see it. I kind of can't either myself, but Winks and Skip seem to be doing it. But I did ask this question the other day. Had we got Winks on had we got Fatawu on from the start, would we still have won it?
Here we talk to Craig, isn't it?
No, to you. Sorry, Tom.
To me, sorry, mate. Yeah. I thought you were saying to Craig. Well, I said actually on this occasion, I think it was a lucky accident that he was on the bench. For whatever reason, that was a decision made, and for whatever reason, it lit a fire up his bum, where he ended up being the most destructive player in the Southampton box for Leicester for 90 minutes, even though he was only on the pitch for 30, which is, which is a style of management in some ways as well. I don't know. The concern with him is, and I can kind of see in some ways why Cooper might have done it, and that is that there was an element after a while in the Championship where he was starting every game, and certain games he wasn't there. And I think if you want to make him as effective as possible, I think the mental game with him is going to be more important than this skill he's actually got, because I think he's naturally a very talented footballer. I think what is going to make him the next level is going to be the man management of his head, almost, of how he handles that and how he takes that into the game itself. So I think on this occasion it worked out really well for us. I think he has to start the next game against Forest, and we'll have to judge him on that as well, equally.
Craig, very quickly, before I go on to the game, Nottingham Forest are playing tonight.
Yes.
They are then playing us on Friday.
Yep.
Which is 4 days between the games. Surely that's got to work in our favour a little bit, hasn't it?
Well, it should do, but they've got about 42 different players, so
you can only register 25.
Well, yeah, there is that. I thought that they might have been able you know, they've stuck a couple in the youth team. Yeah, it has to. It has to. Sorry, I was just sat there just thinking of my next joke, a bit like Jimmy Carr, thinking up content. But yeah, to be perfectly honest, I did see your game, or the highlights of.
Yeah.
And I agree with everything Tom said there. I was surprised and a little bit horrified by the amount of possession and the amount of chances that Southampton had in that first half. They hit the post as well. They did look dangerous. How you make Southampton look dangerous, I don't know.
Because
But
you'd beaten them 3-1, hadn't you?
yeah, we had, and I've got to be honest, they're one of the poorest teams I've ever seen us play in the Premier League. And that's not. And do you know what? Some people go, "Well, that's fine because you hate them." I don't actually hate Southampton. I'd actually like them to stay up. The problem is,
Only so you can get 6 points next season.
well, exactly. But the thing is, I can't. You can't hope for something that you're never going to get. And I've got to be honest, Southampton are dead certs because, Pep Guardiola could go in there and he would not be able to save that football club this season because I just think there's too many players that are below par. But that said, I think it was said more about Steve Cooper and Leicester in that first half than it did about Southampton, why you let them in, because you just weren't at the races. You just weren't at the races. However, that second half, Jamie Vardy's hopefully got them by the scruff of the neck, told them that they chat shit, get banged, and come out absolutely flying. Fatu, as you say, is a key player for you guys. And the whole game turned on its head. It was also very funny that Ryan Fraser, Snake, Wee Man, Tosser.
I was wondering how long that would take to
Tosser,
get. Right. But I've got to say, Tom, taking that Ryan Fraser point up, I feel. I mean, yes, that was definitely a penalty, and I was going to say it's probably. In fairness, it was probably a red. It was definitely a red.
It was definitely a red, Chris. Don't try and justify.
But the other way, on the other end, we're lucky that Ayew wasn't sent off within 30 seconds of coming on.
I'm going to be very honest here, and I think Southampton have every right to be aggrieved on that. Honestly, I think I said on the post of the match, I said the best angle I had for it was that he used his Premier League intelligence to hold him just enough to get away with it. But I generally think actually they've got a lot. They could be annoyed at that. And also the problem is these things are huge. I mean, the sliding doors element we keep bringing up jokingly. That save from Hermansen from Fies. We were 2-0 down at that point. That goes in, boom, 3-0. Then all of a sudden this comeback doesn't happen potentially.
Goal of the season, and it was an own goal. But
I've got a different view actually on that though. I have got a different view on that, and I think Ayew. Yes, he did grab probably more of the shirt than Ryan Fraser got. But that player, even though the ball was going into the box, wasn't in an immediate goal scoring position. There was other players for Southampton that were in better positions.
Well, that is an excellent point, Craig.
However, Ryan Fraser grabbed hold of Vardy when he was in a key goal scoring position, and because he's a twat as well.
Had Ayew not pulled his shirt back, would he not have been in a goal scoring position?
That is a very, very big question, and this is where VAR fails. This is where referees should be able to make that final decision, make those final calls, and those mistakes, should even themselves. Let's be honest, the refereeing standards were so much better years ago because referees did have to make those calls.
The refereeing standards were better 12 months ago because, even if they did make a mistake, you went, well, it's human error, and it will, even up. And then somebody said to me
It's
one
better
day,
in the
well,
Championship.
it's VAR,
Refereeing's
it
better in
will
the Championship.
VAR will even up. And I went, well, it shouldn't do. VAR should be 100% right all the time. That's the
It's almost
idea of
created
it.
a problem that didn't exist because there's always going to be the odd mistake, but now we're highlighting every mistake, which makes it much more difficult for every supporter.
Half time, it could have been Tom 4 to Southampton. Could have been 1. I mean, El Canoes, who's not really had much to do. It was very attacking formation that went on there that Cooper put out with El Canoes and Buenete. What a shot he had that hit that post. I thought that was in.
Yeah, it was a great effort, and it would have been lovely for him to have got it because I think it would have done his confidence the world of good as well. I still think he played okay, although saying that, beyond that, I don't remember a lot of else what he did in the game. And that's not to be mean to him. He obviously was there, but Binotti obviously was dominating proceedings, So I would like to see him gain the confidence from that. Hopefully he'll get one in against Forest or something, because that's the ideal sort of game to make a connection with your fan base as well. Sort of thing that can lift him up a little bit. He's obviously got skill. He's not the biggest chap in the world, but that doesn't matter nowadays in the Premier League as long as you can use your skill well. So I think there's every chance that he is going to become something quite decent for us. And to be honest, I think it was quite an encouraging shot. I know it didn't go in. On another day, it's a centimetre to the left. It's in the net.
Well, we know, anything he can do, Fatawu can do just as well, Craig, because in that second half, Fatawu came in on the left, which I don't want to remind you of the fact, but when we knocked you out the FA Cup last season, that was exactly how he scored the goal.
Yes,
and as I put, it would have been a South Coast special. But Joel, joking aside, it was as good as El Canous's in the first half.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You had to bloody bring that up last season, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
But to be honest, there is cause for celebration with Leicester, but there's also cause for concern because that first half performance shouldn't be happening. It was poor. But that second half performance, it was a little bit like us against Everton, where, we decided to be shite for 87 minutes of the game and, decided that we was going to play for about 8 of them. But luckily, Everton were that poor. It was the polar opposite of that. Well, exactly the same as that.
Do you think, Craig, do you think that Cooper gets a little bit of a bit longer? I mean, look, he's come in. He's had to hit the ground running. Yes, all right, he had a pre-season, but the pre-season was absolutely shite. Enzo left. The whole team was set up to play the Enzo way. Cooper doesn't play the Enzo way, thank God. He wants to be more attacking. And he kind of is having to learn on the job and he's having to experiment on the job as well.
I think it's going to take him a little bit longer. I don't think you can really axe him too quickly. I think, you've made...
I would have been shouting for it if we'd lost this one, though.
You've made a decent start to the season. Yeah, I can understand if you had lost this game. You would have thought, but I think that there is a good manager there in Steve Cooper. I don't think that there's an exceptional manager there. I don't think he's really going to pull up trees, but I think he'll do enough to keep you safe like he did with Forest. I think he would have, if he got the full season with Forest, I think he would have kept them safe.
It was close to his team, wasn't it?
I honestly, but look at how many players he had to actually manage. They had 2 turnovers of players. The first lot that he got out of the Championship, they were all loan players mostly. Steve Cook was probably one of the only permanent players there that was of the standard to actually play in the Premier League. Then Marinakis decided to buy 140 different players.
Moving you on a little bit again, Craig.
But you see what I mean. I think he's going to need a bit of time because you're quite right in what you say. Pre-season was utterly shite.
Yeah. We're getting up to rich sports level here. We've gone over the 2-hour mark. Wayne,
I did
Wayne,
tell you. I
Tom,
did tell you. I warned you.
Yes,
didn't
I know it's a mistake. I should know you by now.
No,
Tom,
you love it, really. You love it.
Tom, we can't keep starting awful and hoping to come back, can we? And if it is Vardy that's geeing them up at half time, that doesn't exactly speak a lot about Cooper. It will be interesting with Forest to see if he's learnt. And that's the thing. If he's learning from these things.
Yeah, what I'm going to be intrigued by is what team starts against Forest. I know it sounds a little bit obvious, but the way we started against Southampton, once again, we started a bit disjointed. However, it's the most attacking we probably set up all season, which is the interesting thing. And I think the Forest game, I would expect to see something similar, because I think against Forest, you've kind of got to prove something as well for your new home fans, especially when you've been a Forest manager. I think if you start badly against Forest and we get to half time, all of a sudden the atmosphere can change very quickly from a week ago. So
Yes,
I think
it can Brendan Rodgers' FA Cup a couple of years ago, can't it?
That's where Brendan should have gone, yeah.
Yes. Last question. Are we going to beat Forest, Tom?
I'm going to say yes.
Win, lose or draw?
We're going to win. We're going to win, and we're going to win by 3-1.
Craig, are we going to win, lose or draw against Forest?
Yeah, I think you'll beat him. Yeah, I think you'll beat him. Well, I've got faith in you. I've got faith in you. I hope you do. I hope you
more
do.
than us have. Look, like I say, I've got to say, well done to Bournemouth again. It was a great win for you. You will be top half this season, I no doubt. And I think it just shows really what a good win it was for us in beating you. One of probably the games that maybe we shouldn't have expected to. Guys, thank you very, very much. I absolutely, really do seriously need a shit. So I'm going to go very quickly now.
Oh, mate, it was great fun. It's great fun.
And on this point, stop rubbing it in. He did say...
I just thought of what... Stop rubbing it in. I really need a shit. Stop rubbing it in.
I was no telling that one.
Question: if Cooper got sacked, would Potter be a good candidate? Do not want Potter anywhere near my club now. You can only ask a woman out so many times. She keeps turning you down. Tell her to fuck off.
Oh, hang on.
Basically, no. We're not going. We're not going there. We're not going there. And Anthony very quickly says, "Craig, have you ever had Harry Redknapp on your channel?"
Yes,
I think we all know the
Harry
answer to that. Gentlemen, thank you very, very much indeed. It's been great having you both on, and we'll see Craig. Well, I'll try and avoid him, but you never know. And if you actually want to know about employing staff when you're abroad, he's your man. Good luck with that. And cheers, Tom, Chris. Thank you very much as well. And we will see you this time next week when we'll be doing it all again. And hopefully we'll be talking about a Forest win. Thanks very much, guys. Take care, and I'll see you soon.
Leicester win.
And we will be back tomorrow night at 7:00 with the debate show. A debate show that will not go on as long as the Roundup show has. Thanks, everybody, very much. Take care to one and all. And I will see you, like I say, tomorrow at 7. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.